Welcome to the NTN Nightly. I'm Nisha Charles. This edition's top stories. A new era for the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court as the 2020 law year opens. The Cultural Development Foundation has a new chairperson, and the Department of Sustainable Development continues its phased approach to ban single-use plastics. The Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court opened the 2020 law year this week under the theme A New Era for the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court, the Road to Achieving Court Excellence. The Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court serves 9 jurisdictions across the Caribbean, including St. Lucia. As she opened the law year with her feature address, Chief Justice Honorable Dame Janice Pereira says that over the last year, the courts have taken small steps to improve the delivery of justice to the people that it serves. She gave a snapshot of the volume of work that the courts deal with on a yearly basis.
At the Court of Appeal, there were 513 appeals filed in 2018, a 14.22% increase over 2017. In 2018, a total of 1,228 appeal matters were heard by way of full court sittings, chamber hearings, and video conferences. The Court of Appeal delivered 56 written judgments and 686 oral decisions, making a total of 742 decisions delivered by the Court of Appeal in 2018. Oral decisions, of course, accounted for 92% of the total decisions of the court. This is undeniably a mammoth effort, as the complement of judges on the Court of Appeal currently stands at 6.
The courts have sought to devise and implement new measures where possible to ease the way of doing business in order to provide for more efficient court systems and better delivery of services. In St. Lucia, government made it a key area of focus to reduce the backlog of cases by 75% by the end of 2019. To do that, government fortified the office of the DPP by providing more resources, as well as increasing the number of magistrates and judges. Justice Pereira says these interventions are necessary to assist the courts in achieving excellence.
Speaking now about financial capital, I once more call on the executives of our governments across the region to do more than provide lip service support to the courts. The courts have been made to operate for several months now without an approved budget and with promises not kept. The fact that a little time, just once in the space of a year, to address funding for the court seems elusive, and it speaks volumes about where the judiciary is pegged, somewhere on the bottom rung of the ladder. The continued chronic failure to adequately fund the court prevents the court from putting strategic plans into action. The reforms and enhancements to current court processes and procedures, and the addition of new ones coupled with capacity building amongst our judicial officers and court staff, can only go so far.
Adequate court facilities, she says, is still a problem within the region.
Judicial officers and court staff are expected to work, and the public is expected to conduct court business in buildings that have not been designed to accommodate a court. Buildings with air quality issues, buildings in ill-suited locations, and buildings without proper accessibility. Courts, like hospitals and airports, are propped as special purpose buildings. But when it comes to the courts, this fact seems to be lost on those tasked with providing them.
The law year opened in Antigua and Barbuda, with the address being streamed live via simulcast to the other 8 territories. Prime Minister Honorable Alan Shastney has called on young people to explore opportunities in the agriculture sector, especially in the production of cocoa, honey, and livestock. This as the government continues to place emphasis on support and incentives in the sector. In his New Year's address, Prime Minister Chasney says the sector is seeing a turnaround and that trend is expected to continue in 2020.
In 2016, banana production increased despite the challenges from natural disasters. We're actively working on new markets and discussions remain underway with Windfresh to strengthen the company's operations and expand its export base. Under our food import substitution program, the Ministry of Agriculture is working closely with farmers to decrease on the food import bill by increasing our output of 7 crops: cabbage, lettuce, watermelon, cantaloupe, bell pepper, pineapple, and tomato. The intention is to be fully self-sufficient in those crops. We're also putting greater emphasis on the regional markets and exploring expansion with Export SaintLucia to improve our agro-processing sector, and 2 agro-processing plants are now in operation at Agen in Micoud and Fonso in Babonneau.
One of the current administration's biggest success stories has been in the manufacturing sector. In the last 3.5 years, government has targeted this sector for employment and investment generation.
Caribbean Quality Meats Limited, a poultry processing plant, is soon to begin operations in Dennery. Invest SaintLucia has also partnered with Jamaica company ITEL BPO Smart Solutions in developing a 20,000 square foot factory shell set to be operational by April at the Hunora Free Zone, which will create even more employment in the South. A US $30 million expansion is currently underway at SaintLucia Distillers Limited. Similar expansion works are planned at the Windward and Leeward Brewery. Attention is also being paid to the restoration of the coconut factory in Soufrière.
The Department of Sustainable Development, along with its partners, are continuing efforts at phasing out single-use plastics. The first phase of the ban took effect on August 1, 2019. Janelle Norville reports.
The Department of Sustainable Development is reminding the general public of the phased approach to reduce single-use plastic, which took effect on August 1, 2019. This phased approach is enforced by the Styrofoam and Plastics Prohibition Act No. 22 of 2019, enacted August 1, 2019, which supports a ban on the importation of all styrofoam and selected single-use plastic food service containers. Therefore, any styrofoam and selected plastic food service containers arriving in St. Lucia after July 31, 2019 will not be released by the Department of Customs and Excise. The disposal and export of any restricted items arriving after July 31, 2019 will be at the expense of the importer. We further encourage persons owning or in charge of businesses to declare their stock of styrofoam and single-use plastics as of August 1, 2019 to the Department of Sustainable Development on the prescribed declaration forms. These forms can be obtained from the Department's office at Georgiana Court on the John Compton Highway in Castries. Additionally, as of August 1, 2020, the second phase of the single-use plastic reduction will begin. Phase 2 will restrict the manufacturing, sale, distribution, and use of items prohibited in Phase 1. Also on August 1, 2020, a ban on the importation of other single-use plastics food service containers as well as styrofoam egg cartons will take effect. The full listing of the items being prohibited as of August 1, 2020 is available in Schedule B of the Act. Alternatives to styrofoam are available from various local retailers, distributors, and wholesalers made from paper, bamboo, bagasse, and other material. Minister for Sustainable Development, Honorable Dr. Gail Rigobert, continues to be encouraged by the continued support and passion demonstrated by members of the public on this initiative and welcomes further partnerships to strengthen St. Lucia's environmental conservation and sustainability initiatives. The Act is available to the public on the National Printing Corporation's website. For more information, please contact the Department of Sustainable Development.
And this is the NTN Nightly. We'll be back in a moment.
As a single mother, I do a lot of ironing. Knowing that the iron that I'm using is safe is important to me. The St. Lucia Bureau of Standards tests electrical appliances being imported into the country. SLBS will soon adopt 35 new standards on electrical equipment to ensure that consumers like you and me are safe. If your iron does not come with a British 3-pin plug, it should be sold with a compliant British 3-pin adapter. If you buy any appliance that is faulty, report it to the Bureau.
This message is brought to you by the Commonwealth Standards Network.
Welcome back. The Cultural Development Foundation has a new chairperson in the name of Honorable Janine Girodi McIntyre. The last board of directors expired in September of 2019 and was headed by Daniel Belize. In keeping with government's thrust towards ensuring greater synergies among sectors and capitalizing on the orange economy, Honorable Girodi McIntyre was appointed to the position. Honorable Janine Girodi McIntyre, who is also an artist, is excited to be part of the policy-making body of cultural and creative development in St. Lucia.
Now, a lot of work has been done over the years to bring us to the cultural space that we find ourselves in now. I see CDF as the home of the artists, and so in conjunction with the ministry, we at CDF want to provide the necessary legal frameworks, especially in light of the recent passing of the bill to which the minister referred. We want to provide training for the business of art, which sometimes is the thing that the artist cannot capture because he's more about inspiration and getting the work done than the business of it. And we want to create industry pathways for all artists to benefit from the new and vibrant orange economy.
The new chairperson says that the success of this new thrust in the cultural and creative industries does not solely depend on the policymakers, but the artists as well. The new ambassadorial program is just one example of the marriage between government policy with the experience, reputation, and leverage of St. Lucian icons.
I am a lawyer by training, and I intend to bring my legal skills to bear on my work at CDF regarding copyright, effective legal vehicles, and interpretations of various acts. But more than that, I am also a trained professional fine artist. I paint in oil, acrylic, and pastel, and my paintings hang in public and private collections locally, regionally, and internationally. So I have the personal experience of the artist. I have walked the lonely, difficult, sometimes draining, yet exhilarating, inspiring, and really awesome road of the artist, from amateur to professional. And so I will approach this task not only as a policy driver, but also as a recipient artist determined to sell his or her craft to the world.
And that was Honorable Janine Girodi McIntyre, the newly appointed chairperson of the Cultural Development Foundation. The Central Statistical Office is informing the public of its mapping exercise for Census 2020, which begins on January 13 until March 30, 2020. The office recently concluded a 4-day training exercise for mappers, where 35 persons were trained to execute the 2020 Population and Housing Mapping exercise. The exercise will include the collection of global positioning systems, GPS locations, for every building on the island. It is expected that the information gathered will facilitate the formation of maps, which will be used to identify buildings to be visited during the enumeration process of the 2020 Population and Housing Census. And this is the NTN Nightly. We'll be right back.
The effective management of the marine resources depends heavily on compliance. To ensure that these resources continue to thrive and provide the best local seafood, fishers, vendors, and consumers must be aware of the fishery seasons. Here is the season chart for lobster. Adhere to the schedule. help maintain a thriving fishing industry for all of us. This has been a message from the Department of Fisheries.
Welcome back. And here's a look at what's happening to us weather-wise.
Cloudy, hazy,
Brings us to the end of the NTN Nightly. Join us next time at 7 p.m. with a repeat at 7 a.m. You can also catch up with us anytime on the St. Lucia Government Facebook page or YouTube channel. I'm Nisha Charles.